allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're going to call this regular board meeting to order under 4S 192.630 at 6:05. We have all present except for Deb. She had surgery today, so she is not here for good reason. Let's move right to our consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from regular meeting May 14th, the executive session on May 14th, and the budget committee on May 13th? Is there anyone that has any corrections? I'm seeing all head shaking no. So can we have a motion to approve these?
I'll second.
All in favor? Anyone against? Motion passes. Recognition of guests and correspondence. You did find a letter we received sitting at your place at the table for you to read at your pleasure. We have Shereen J. Blackburn and Stephanie and Lynn Shoemaker visiting us tonight. Welcome. And we also have Kara Parker, OSBA Board Legal Advisor, visiting us virtually this evening as well. So welcome, everyone. I apologize, but in order for us to make the best use of our OSBA Legal Advisor's time, we're going to go into executive session right away, but we will come out as soon as we're finished with that and let you know it's time to come back in. Okay, so enjoy the nice weather. At least it's not blowing 100 miles an hour.
Then this is when I stop the recording.
And we are going to pause the regular meeting and move into executive session. ORS .660 parentheses 2 parentheses.
Tangent.
Is Jay coming?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we will. I just wanted to make
If
sure.
the recording is on.
I just wanted to make sure we had everybody that wanted to be here since. Is he close?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He had to run home and tell the boys to ride the bikes.
Oh.
Somewhere.
All right, we are going to open regular meeting ORS 192.630 back up again. We are going to start out with action, if any, resulting from our executive session. Do we have a motion from our decision from, or not decision, do we have an action from our discussion in the executive session?
So I move that we turn over these complaints to a private third-party investigator, and then upon receipt of their investigative report, that we will evaluate future changes as needed.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
We have to do Nick. Approve,
Nick approved.
okay, Macy,
Clark, aye.
Yeah,
Mark.
me too.
and Jocelyn is a yes as well. All right, formal complaint. No, I'm one down too many. Public document appeal from Jay Blackburn. Last meeting, we dealt with Jay's original concern. He sent an appeal back. What he is requesting is, let me just read, a clear and direct response to questions I raised, particularly regarding Mr. Freitag's actions. Number two, an explanation for the contradictory statements regarding the document's fate. At this point, Ms. Parker, do the notes or documents requested meet any of the retention rules for documents, public documents?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of do a quick overview of public records. So every
Can you move up?
writing or every photograph, every written piece of thing that is created by any district employee. Can everyone hear me? Sorry.
I just had them all move up forward.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and,
Yeah, so public records are pretty broad, and any writing that is made by any public employee is considered a public record, and public records by default are subject to inspection. If the document exists and it is not, it's required to be retained, then a public body has an obligation to produce that record if it doesn't fall under any of the exemptions. My understanding of this document is that it was written notes that a public employee used as a guide for giving an oral statement in a meeting. That is a public record. However, there is no retention requirement for that record. So in all the Oregon administrative rules, I think 166, chapter 400 is where all school district documents are listed. And that type of a writing does not fall under any category that is required to be retained for any period of time. And so any employee who has made a written thing that they are using to make an oral statement, they may lawfully throw that away at any time. They are not required to retain it. And so if it existed, you'd have to produce it, but it's my understanding that that document does not exist, and it was lawful for that to be thrown away.
okay. Second question, does it matter what the circumstances are that led to the notes or documents being thrown away? Whether Mr. Freetag or Mr.
does
Carter,
not.
Mr. Carter, Mr. Wells, whoever, does it matter what the circumstances were that this document is no longer with us?
No, it doesn't matter. It could be thrown away accidentally, purposefully. It could be thrown away immediately. It could be thrown away later. The person could have the intent of, I want to throw this away because I want to obscure people's ability to access what I have written down. Like they could, be trying to skirt public records law, I guess. So there's no penalty for having thrown it away in any given circumstance. It was lawfully thrown away.
Okay. Board members, any further questions on the first two requests? Okay. Acknowledgement of mishandling of the public records request is Jay's third request. Ms. Parker, does Superintendent Wells' explanation that was sent immediately following the discovery of his email in the spam folder, does that adequately answer Jay's question about why he did not respond within the 5 days?
I believe so. Every public body has a records request procedure that they're required to produce. And it's my understanding that you all's record request procedure is pretty unspecific. Like there's not a specific person that someone would have to request. And so sending an email to Carter and it going to the spam folder, that was a properly made records request. But there's no malfeasance here, or misfeasance, I wouldn't say. Carter simply did not receive it. And so he's given his explanation, and that is what it is.
Okay. And then the fourth request is immediate corrective measures to ensure future compliance with Oregon public records obligations. We made a statement in the board decision in our last meeting. Does that we are not trying to not fulfill our obligations. I would say when I received Jay's request from Mindy and read it, I walked into Carter's office and said, Carter, why has this not been taken care of? And he said, I don't have it. He found it later that day and sent off his response immediately. It was the 9th. They received his explanation on the 10th via certified mail. That's what I know of it as well, as I don't know how much more immediate you can do of that. Perhaps we should require the public documents complaints to be written and given to Mindy so that we're sure that we receive them. I mean, that could be a corrective action on our part, but as far as what has happened in the requests, I don't know what else could have been done, at least my opinion. Nick, your comments, your thoughts on what we have done and or questions for Kara?
Pretty clear to me. I mean, we did what we could with the information that we received and when we received it.
Okay.
Deal.
Macy, comments?
I don't think I have any more questions. I do think it would be a good idea to require public records requests be given in writing, just so that we are able to fulfill that request in a timely fashion. And then I think it should probably list a specific, not person, but job title that those written requests are given to. As Mindy's not going to be here forever, but that policy might be here longer than she is. So that way, whoever we elect is that position to receive those formal, written requests and can fulfill them.
Mark?
I agree with Macy. I think we can do this as a learning thing that, that we should have that in written because it's there, it's black and white. So, yeah, I agree with Macy with less words than she used.
Okay. Mindy, could you please put in the minutes?
Would you like that on a future agenda item?
Yes, let's address it in July under policy. And if you'll make a note in there, correct public document policy to read specific job title and requests in writing to that person. That way it'll remind us of what we need to change.
Maybe we could bring an amended copy to that meeting. Vote on it then, so we're not multiple.
Yeah, I think we have to have 2 reads on policy changes anyway, don't we?
I believe that you can amend the policy in one,
Okay.
but I'll check with Mr. Stuckey about that.
Oh, that's a good idea. Do we have policy about?
Oh, yeah.
Or are we just
We
doing
do, but,
ORS?
No, we have a little bit of policy, but it's pretty obscure. And I do receive some public records requests by email, but how many am I missing because they've been sent to my spam? I have no idea. I don't
Right.
know what you do about that, because
Right.
there's a lot of agencies that request those by email all the time. They want to know who our vendors are and who our employees are. And I get certain ones every year, but I don't know how many I'm missing.
Right. Well,
It's true.
I think it makes sense for us to have it written into what we're doing.
Noted.
Okay, thank you very much. We have 3 choices at this point based on Oregon Ethics Commission's advice, and that is we can choose to investigate further. We can choose to, I'm blank on, we can choose to
Not doing anything.
not, well, we can choose corrective action, which we just did on part of that. And then the third one is we can say, this is what we're doing. We're done with this appeal. And then we stand ready to cooperate down the road. Those are the 3 choices we have.
I would make a motion that we proceed with corrective action in the form of that we amend our policy in the future to state that all document requests must be submitted in writing. That way we don't miss things like this in the future.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Nick,
Macy?
Macy? Mark?
Aye.
Aye. Jocelyn? Aye. Okay. Next order of business is the formal complaint against the school board from Jay Blackburn. And you all have had a chance to read through that. His requests are an independent investigation to issue a public correction and formal apology, review employee or contractor due process rights, and consider appropriate sanctions or trainings for the board. Open meetings, ethical standards, and procedural fairness would be the topics. I visited with Kara about how to proceed with this. Her advice or her discussion with me talked about that we would take each of us time in this next month to watch the March 18th meeting from start to finish, looking at Jay's requested actions, and then come prepared to the next meeting to decide if any of his 4 requests or something that we need to move on, make corrections for? Again, do more investigative work, do corrective actions, or say, we're done. Those are our three choices on that. Kara, do you have anything to add that might help us make a decision on how we move forward here?
With the complaint specifically about contractual interference.
Just the whole request
Oh.
of how do we move forward on Jay's requests on his complaints against the board? We had talked about
Oh,
watching the full meeting, the full March 18th meeting with
Yes.
these actions in mind.
Yeah, and yes, because you can all do that as a board. Board members that are by yourself, you don't have to be in quorum or in public meeting to take in information that you will later use to make a decision. So I think that's a great idea to watch the video in light of the complaints that you're reading, and you can cogitate about whether you think there is a violation, and then you all can come together and discuss that in public.
All right. Do we need to make a motion that that's what we are going, we must need to make a motion that that's what we are going to do, that we will in the next month each of us review the video of the March 18th meeting in light of
I don't think you have
requested
to.
actions.
I don't think you formally have to do it because there's no circumstance under which you would all censure one another if you didn't do it. So I don't think you need to make a
Okay.
formal motion. You can just individually agree, and I, as the attorney, will bless your activity of watching that video by yourself. You are taking in information. You are not deliberating outside of a public session. And then I would, yes, just caution that you don't talk amongst yourselves about it except in open session.
Okay. Nick, questions for Kara or,
I don't think so.
all right, Macy?
Have you had the opportunity to watch that meeting, Kara?
I have, yes.
Do you have an opinion on the allegations based on what you saw?
I will say that the complaint asserts some legal claims that would only be properly brought in civil court. You all don't have a policy against the things that Mr. Blackburn is alleging here, and so I think a lawsuit is is the proper place to bring a claim for contractual interference, for those kinds of things. And I will say that watch the whole meeting, but things become pertinent at minute 51 of that meeting. 51 through 55 roughly is where you should pay close attention.
Do you feel like watching that meeting and what is said in those minutes is going to change anything that we've already ruled on?
I don't know, has this complaint been brought before? Have you all addressed the complaint that there was some kind of contractual interference on the part of the board for Cherie Black? Okay, so this is kind of a brand new item before the board here. And you all have the prerogative to say this doesn't violate any board policy, but you also have the prerogative to say, yes, we will watch it and in good faith take this complaint under advisement and decide if we're going to take any action.
And my other question is, we partner with a third party group to provide referees for our sporting events.
But junior high I checked with Mindy, junior high is directly,
With us. Okay. that
yeah,
was what
with
it
us,
was.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's an at-will.
Okay. We want to have something to do with subbing, right? If we employ some, if we have someone do, if so like the reffing that they're alleging to, even if it was an at-will game, are they considered a public employee of the district at that point?
Yeah, anytime you're paying anyone wages or a stipend, outside of folks who receive nominal stipends when they are volunteers, which is a whole rabbit hole that I won't go down. But if they receive a paycheck and you withhold payroll taxes, they are an employee of the district.
And do we do that for our reffing, for our at-will refs?
It's going to depend on the relationship that was established prior. In this case, the person had already been established as an employee for a different, entirely different job years before that. So in this case, yes, they received a paycheck with taxes. We do contract with some people, but then that indicates a 1099 at the end of the year. And that was not the case there.
Just for my own information and moving forward, that's more of like an independent contractor, is that correct?
It is, but independent contractors, it's very difficult to divide that line. Independent contractors are often employees.
So whether they're given a paycheck, taxes taken out, or they're the other side where we're issuing a 1099 at the end of the year, do we legally still follow the same laws?
My understanding, yes. Because we've made a contract with that person to pay them a specific amount. For Boley law, that is. I don't know about this situation, only speaking from Boley law and what is considered to be a contractor and what's considered to be an employee. If I pay someone $500 to pull weeds, that's an independent contractor, and now we've established a relationship. But if I then pay them an hourly wage to be a substitute custodian, they're an employee. Forevermore. It's really difficult to tell. And could I make a mistake with that? Yes, absolutely I could, because Boley law is not the first and foremost thing I'm thinking of, but
Off the top of my
either
head.
one is considered to be wages from the district.
Okay, and then,
That's just how they're paid.
okay, then my other question, and this might be more for Carter, is have we formally terminated a contractual relationship? For like reffing, have we said we will no longer, have we issued a letter or a statement or?
Not that
anything?
I've written, no.
Okay. Anything that you've written, Jocelyn? Okay.
And I believe we contract services with Northeast Oregon Referees Association.
No.
There's stuff.
Oh, okay,
And then the middle school stuff is what we were talking about.
okay.
So that's what I was trying to figure out is what all jurisdictions are we looking at? And then has anything actually occurred yet? Like, have we had a game where we specifically said, no, do not actually come run this game?
Not to my,
Anything to your knowledge, you and, okay. Your knowledge, Nelson's knowledge?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, questions?
I'm good.
I'm good also. So moving forward with this topic, which is the formal complaints against the school board. We will each view the March 18th meeting from start to end with these actions requested in mind. And then be prepared to talk about those at our July meeting
And rule on action.
and rule on action at that point. All right. Next topic is July school board meeting. I am having surgery July 2nd to repair some female parts. I don't know that I am going to be up and excited about sitting at a board meeting the following week. So I guess what I'm saying is if you'd like me to chair the meeting, we probably need to move it a week later just to be safe. That is not okay, then Macy, you are gonna have to be,
I'm great with it to the following day.
Nick, can you make it the following Wednesday?
Yeah.
Mark, I know you love me when I change meetings. Can you-
No, that's fine. I'm sure President Trump will call me. I'll be fine.
Good to know.
So that means it's July 16th? Yeah. So,
And Mindy, are we all good here with July 16th?
I'm okay with July 16th, but I really, really need to go open the budget.
Oh, yes.
Budget hearing, I'm so sorry. It
Okay.
says committee meeting, but I need to get that open so that we have enough to.
Okay,
see what's what.
so do we need to have a motion to move the meeting, or can we just say we're going to move
We
it?
need to open it, it's number 7 up there.
No, I'm just talking about, we need to finish up where we are in July board meeting. That has been, do we need a motion to do that? We just need to move it. Okay, perfect. Now we can open up the budget meeting.
Thank you.
Sorry, I buried my official agenda.
Any comments or questions about the budget that was approved by the committee? Nothing significant has changed between now and then. So the numbers that I typed on the resolution prepared in advance are the same that were approved.
And it looks like it's gone through the 11-4 at the state level, so we have a mostly firm number.
Yes, until second year of the biennium.
Okay, so it's gonna get us through
It's
this.
falling right here.
Okay, it's gonna get us through this year, and I have not seen anything substantial that looks like any kind of further additional expenses coming out of the state session that I've been watching. Has anybody else,
Yeah.
or have you seen it? You haven't seen anything either? Okay. Then I have,
We did get some information. Why is this not typing? We did get some information about some of the federal programs going down a little bit, but it wasn't due to budgetary concerns at the federal level. It was due to the census and our poverty. And it is concerning to me that potentially they're taking our poverty numbers. There's always been a connection between the federal free and reduced lunch applications and our Title I program.
mhm,
They work in concert with each other. Well, since we're now all free lunch for all students, we don't receive as many applications. So I am working with Julie Baxter to investigate if that is why our poverty number has gone down so far and therefore our title funding has gone down.
okay.
And if that's the case, we're going to do a lot more public education on getting those applications filled out. So that's in the mix, but I'm not sure if that's the cause.
If it is part of it, can we include it in the registration packets?
We have been, but if there's no urgency to fill it out, why would you? It's personal information. It's very difficult to get that out.
Right.
For you know,
Yeah.
especially if you've already got the benefit. It's not affecting our direct certifications, which would come directly from the state for programs that have been identified for that. but it would affect those who might qualify based on income that are not receiving some of those other elites.
It's very sensitive information and so people are very reluctant and there's no benefit to them because they're already getting free breakfast.
I don't have any
We
other
may have to.
questions. Does anybody else have any other questions about budget? Nick, you're good. Macy, you're good?
No.
Mark?
No.
Okay, me too. All right, administrative reports. James, you're on.
So we had not a whole lot to report right now. We had hired 2 coaches. We hired Tara Baxter Clark's assistant cross country coach, to assist Sheedy, your new head coach. And we just hired Brooke Sasirski to be our new girls head wrestling coach. She just finished up for college wrestling.
Oh, nice.
We recommended from multiple sources. We had 3 applicants, the other 2 were dropping out the last minute.
Oh.
So she was our only applicant, but she definitely is a qualified student with a college degree, fits right in to help her with her coaching. And she's very energetic and excited. And Joe's excited to work with her.
Cool.
So
Yeah, very cool.
What is her last name?
Sasirski, CICIER ski.
Did you get that?
Yep, no,
Yeah.
I'll get that on her application materials before I publish
I'll
them.
text it to you. But very excited, plans to be around for a while. That's what we talked about, and 5 to 6 years at least, or maybe longer. Like I said, very energetic and excited about the opportunity. So excited to see what she can do with the girls and work with Joe. She's on board to start helping Joe with some stuff that's going on.
Oh, nice.
So
It's really exciting because that's kind of like a unicorn.
Yeah.
To find somebody with that skill set in that gender, I think it's rare. And so personally, I'm really excited for that program and where that program's gonna go.
Well, it's up and coming in
Yeah.
spades, so
Yeah.
yeah, we're lucky.
yeah,
We're lucky we've got a college.
Yeah.
more
10 girls.
the estimates now at this point, barring ones you can't predict, ones we know of at this point.
Nice.
That's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then Joe and I did walk through the facility, just looking at things that popped out to us that we wanted to get to John, just to, things that we've seen that we like, so not necessarily things that he would know, so. We just did our list, so we have a rank as far as what we think is the most important, as we know, this time is very precious, and it's likely not to get to everything, so. Other than that, just getting ready for next year.
Do we have a plan in place for our new athletic handbook development this summer?
Yes, we're working on that right now, and I hope to have a copy to you guys by the July meeting, so that's, look at July, we can make any suggested corrections or insights, and hopefully then August we can improve it.
Okay. Anything else for James?
But handouts include contracts.
Like-
Clear contracts and all that.
We haven't got that deep into it yet, so we've got some samples from our school, and our school, and compare, and try to address what the things we can address, so.
Question, are any other schools doing drug testing right now?
As far as I know, the one I know is Bailey, just put out there, as far as I know, they're still doing it. I got the request when I was there before, by request to the school board. But I couldn't tell you, I can find out, I can just reach out.
I think the only one I know of in the region is Grant Union. That's the only one I know of in the region that's doing it. So, or that I've heard that has. And I don't know if they do every student or they just do random. I don't know the ins and outs, but that would be somebody that you could reach out to, James.
Yeah,
They might have a policy, they might have a procedure.
if they're still doing it, I'm sure they have policy in place.
Yeah.
It's a pretty extensive process. When I was involved with Bandon, so. In Bandon, they tested, if it's still the same, they test every kid prior to their first sport activity, and then there's random testing after that. So everybody knows they get tested once and then after that. So, and the testing is all done by outside certified sources. But if you'd like, I can definitely reach out and try and get more information as far as to see how many are doing it.
I'm just wondering if it was something that districts are doing around here or not.
I haven't heard of any, but I can definitely, I mean, I can definitely call Grant and Vicky. I'm sure you'd be glad to share the information.
Just be interesting to see if we can kind of all on the same page in the region as far as some, at least, some of the key topics. If no one else is doing it, I don't know if we necessarily need to, I have been an issue for us, but.
Yeah.
Any other questions for James? Thank you very much. Feel free to adios. Carter?
Okay, if you attended graduation, I think you saw a great event where we were able to recognize a lot of really good kids. And this class of kids that graduated this last year, it was really fun. There was a lot of financial scholarships and awards and that we gave away that was, over $100,000 worth of stuff that we got to recognize, which was a pretty big deal. So if you were there, it was a great event. One of my favorite events of the year, great celebration. The packet I gave you answers some of the questions that we had at the last board meeting. I always bring this, the newsletter to you. Tracy does a great job on this. Tracy is awesome to have in the office. And this is just kind of a celebration of the end of the year. So I'd like to include it, gives you some information. Then you asked me about the Oregon.
Is this sent out to all students or all
Goes out in every report card.
in report cards?
Yeah.
Okay, not community-wide, but
Yeah.
student.
Sorry.
Nope, zip.
Okay, the one you brought up was graduation requirements. This list is our graduation requirements for Union High School. And so it shows all those. And then down at the bottom, we have personal finance as a Union High School graduation requirement. That is there on the bottom under electives. And so that's why it goes to 25 instead of the state requirement of 24.
Okay.
The next page is, this was the best thing out there that I found, and it's Oregon State University. And it really just mirrors exactly what the page you said you just read. It talks about 4 years of language arts. It talks about 3 years of math. It talks about 3 years of social studies, 3 years of science. And then it gets into second language, and so those were like the entrance. This is the admission requirements for Oregon State University. So you can see our graduation requirements line up with OSU's admission requirements.
With the exception of second language.
Yeah.
Because it requires 2 years. Okay.
Yep. And so we don't. You can do electives. If you go back to the previous page, electives, you can do second language, or you can do arts, or you can do career technical ed. That's considered fine arts for us. And so a second language is considered a fine art, but also wood shop is considered a fine art. Welding is considered a fine art. Music, your band and choir, that's considered a fine art. So you can graduate from Union High School, meet your graduation requirements, and not take a foreign language.
What percentage of foreign language still required 2 years of foreign language?
I would say it's coming back. Like in Oregon, that's what it shows right here. Second language, minimum of 2 years. But we also have had kids meet this with taking like American Sign Language and those kinds of things. And so there's different ways to meet these requirements. But you can see, but it's not required for high school graduation, but it is required for admission to OSU. So those were some of the questions you had. Then the next page is, looks like this. It's a big grid type format. This is what we call our forecasting form. So the student is going to fill that out. And then based on their grade level, you would be able to see which classes you can pick per period. So if you're, a senior, you can see most of your required classes are offered in the morning, and then most of the elective are offered in the afternoon. And so typically some of those seniors that are very advanced, maybe want to take a class that we don't offer, and they take it at Eastern in the afternoon. And so that's how we figured out when we did this, that we needed to add a second agriculture class to the middle school, because our middle school population is exploding. And so that, which is a good problem, but we figured out through this process that we needed to add a second ag class. And then if you go to the next page, and that's just the master schedule. And you can see, if you look under Jameson, that she has, not only does she have second period agriculture 7 and 8, but she also has 6th period agriculture 7 and 8. And so, so that hopefully answers those questions. And Mr. Townsend's classes, other than robotics, are considered agriculture classes, the wood shop, the welding, and the construction. So those are still in the agriculture field. So that a student can take like wood shop and still be part of FFA and not have to take an agriculture class. And that was a discussion I think we had months ago. And so I tried to answer that. Then the next document is the honors diploma application. And this was something that we talked about last month, and you go through that and the kids fill out the second page showing that they've completed all of those different areas. We typically give this out to the seniors at the end of the 7th semester, because that's when they would have all of this information, their 7th semester with us. And then they complete all of that and put it in there, and then they get 4 faculty signatures at the end. And so this is a great way for kids to have another recognition at graduation for all taking our hardest classes that we offer on campus. So those were some of the things that, well, you guys had questions for me, and I asked that I would draw the documents to this meeting. Couple other things that is really kind of interesting. Summer work underway. And so Chris and I have gone around with John and we've talked through the things that we're hoping to get accomplished this summer. I'm excited that the irrigation people should be here at the beginning of next week. So you should start seeing trenches around the district to update irrigation systems, that's exciting. Green grass always makes people happy. And then we had a tree fall down over here by the shot put. And when you leave tonight, you can see it's down, it's over the fence. Well, it's not on our side of the fence. So we didn't think it was our tree. Well, it turns out we actually own the property on the other side of that ditch where all of those trees are. And so what I'm going to find out is see how much, obviously we're going to have to take care of the tree. It's on our property. It's our responsibility. We are going to do that, but it's on our timeline. And then the second thing is I'm going to approach the city to see if we can split that piece of property off from our property to see if it can be like a sizable lot. And then maybe we could put one of the tiny homes that we have built on it and maybe sell it. Something like that. I don't know if it's possible, but I felt like over the course of the next couple of months, those are some questions I can ask. I don't want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do this, but if it's a way for us to make some money and not have to be responsible for a piece of property that we're not using.
Give them funds so that they have funds to build their next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff that I plan on working on over the next few weeks, and I'll work with the city about that, because I think when it was the owned by the mill, I don't know what that part of the mill was, and so it just kind of came with the mill property, but it's on the other side of the irrigation dish outside of the scope of what we use. And so it's just kind of an interesting problem or conundrum. Like the tree fell, that's not our tree, it's on the other side of the fence. and no, it's your tree. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, and so that's everything I have to report tonight.
All right. Thank you very much for the honors diploma and regular diploma and college diploma or college entrance information. That's helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
When our students enter their freshman year, are they given their, honors diploma, like requirement sheet, so they can just see what they have to do over those several years?
we can do that. It's one of those things that, no, we don't give it to them as a freshman because we know in 3.5 years, they're probably going to have that
When
same
they do
document.
the application, but I can't-
Yeah, the information page, but not the, yeah, you bet.
And then I was just Googling, the majority of all four-year universities require 2 years of language.
Yeah.
So I think that's also really important to make sure in that connections class that they understand that if they want to go to a four-year university,
They gotta
they
take 2 years.
currently need to take 2 years.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have a kid come back and go, well, I couldn't get into Oregon State because no one told me.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, it is their job to look that up and know that information,
Mhm.
blah, 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 but,
And as we forecast,
right.
we will be having those discussions.
Okay. One other question. Oh, can we have John present at the next board meeting
John
or August, one of the two?
Reynolds.
Give his
I think he presented it August.
August last year.
Yeah, that may be it.
We put him on for August, Mindy, and then can you make sure he can do that?
Yes, I'm pretty sure he couldn't in July. He's got something.
Okay. In August, we give him time to report on all his projects.
Yeah, I'll talk to him tomorrow.
I think he reported last year in August of everything that he had completed or was well on his way to complete for the new year. So good catch on that. Any other questions for Carter? Mark? Nick? Nope. Me neither.
Nancy, if I missed something, you were talking about, what else could we say in connections? Honors diploma, I remember.
Just including it when they're like forecasting stuff their freshman year, let them know.
Heads up information.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to know, like, oh, if I want an honors diploma, I gotta do these things, okay, so I'm gonna make sure that I don't take underwater basket weaving, and then I take writing 121.
Yeah.
And one other question and possibly. Oh, graduation rate, what was our graduation rate this year?
I have not completed that report at this time. Because I don't know, there's kids that fall off, because it goes by 4-year and 5-year cohorts. And so all of the students that started this year as a senior graduated. But as far as ODE is concerned, there are kids that started with us as a freshman, and that report isn't complete yet, and that information hasn't come back to us yet. So that's typically, I won't know that until probably the end of the month or the end of July. Because that information's got to get submitted, and then ODE submits something back to us. And so, but as far as like the seniors that we started this school year with, every one of those kids that started as a senior this year received a high school diploma. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's good.
I'd like to know our 4-year graduation rate, so the kids that graduated, started as freshmen.
And those are the reports that,
They don't do like moved and all that, like I only know the ones that like.
so the kids that, the unfortunate thing is in that report there, if no other school district picks up that student. So let's say student A is a Union School District student and they transfer somewhere else or they move, like COVID, we saw this go gangbusters. They went and they're homeschooling. If no other school district requests records for that student because they didn't go to an institution and that institute didn't request records from us, that's considered our dropout. Even if they left and they went and they said, we're homeschooling, and that's what they did, that's considered our dropout. And COVID saw that go crazy with people moving and people checking out of schools and things like that. And so that's, I will have that information. I'll bring it to next month's meeting.
Could you give us like a little breakdown of immigrant, like this kid truly dropped out versus this kid moved and we just don't know?
And there was no records request. So some of those, we get dinged on that.
Right, but I just like to know what's legit us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's very few. It's very few that don't go somewhere else, request records, those kinds of things.
on those same lines, as you're getting grad rates, it would be nice, to see, where, and I don't know if it's the SAI stuff or just what it is, but it's the third grade reading, the eighth grade math. Yeah, the ninth grade on track, and then I think it's grad, and I don't know if there's another one. I don't, like I say, I don't know which grant or report that goes with, but it would be nice to see where we're starting from in August. So either, you may not have it by July 16th, but maybe plan on having it for August.
As soon as I can get it out.
Yeah, as soon as we're starting with it. Yeah, that whole rest of
Where all of our
things
our
are.
elementary scores were for all of our state testing this year, since our decline rate was so low.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a lot more valuable numbers this year.
Right.
I'd like to have
Some
that
good-
report, and maybe then Chris
And-
can present that, his board report in August.
Yeah, and I have not submitted the ninth grade on track numbers to ODE yet. That's on my state reports that I do.
Mhm.
And yeah, those are in the next week or so. That's one of the things that I have on the list on the desk. I just haven't.
Yeah, August would be great
Yeah,
because
August
then,
is good. I just want
yeah.
it to be on you guys' list of things that to know about.
Yeah.
yeah.
And-
then we're
and-
starting.
As Tracy and I were discussing this on Monday, getting ready to submit this report, we believe we have one student is a freshman that's not on track out of all of our freshmen. Yeah. So, but we have not received like the third grade reading results back yet, and I'll work with Josh on that.
And then we're gonna work with that one kid to get them on.
Yeah, yeah. And we know who they are, and yeah, and then we'll get them in some classes so that they can pick up those credits towards graduation.
Mr. Dunlap, when you give your report to us, will you report what percentage of the kids from the class of the 12%, we're not really looking too much of that, but with 85, we're probably gonna be like, oh yeah, that's a legit number.
The number of opt-outs is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
percentage of kids who took the exam. Or what's what's called.
Anything else for Carter? Mindy, tell us about financials.
I don't have anything to report other than here, checklisting. Because I'm busy trying to wrap up the year. I will say there on the action items, there's a resolution to increase appropriations, and we're not going to need to do that. That was a contingency, put it on the agenda in case we do it, because I was hoping there would be movement and we get to increase appropriations, but that's not the case. So we won't do that. As I said, everything within the budget is the same as it was a month ago when we approved it. The budget committee was.
Excellent. Questions for Mindy? Chris, tell us about the elementary.
I did not present a formal report just because I am very minimal at this point. Our end of the year was a success as far as the activities and events and getting kids, out the doors. We currently are working on our elementary schedule, which includes teacher preps, when PE, music, support for reading and math happens. That's kind of a big puzzle with the elementary, and a lot of it can't start until we know what the high school schedule is. And so that's why it isn't completed at this time. We hope to have that done by the end of the month. And then the only other thing to report is that we had one retention at the elementary. That was a formal retention. We requested others, but parents denied those options.
What grade level?
Second.
How our class size is looking at the elementary. I know it's not until we see the whites of their eyes, but looking,
I think right now we have 19 registered for kindergarten. And so then we're still at 30 first, I mean, this is off the top of my head, 30 first graders, second grade, just under 30 for first grade next year, 30 for second grade. Third grade is looking like 26. fourth grade should be around 27. What's that?
Did they have a couple of leave?
Fifth grade.
When they had 29 at the end of the year?
This third grade,
Last year's
third grade,
third grade, fourth grade.
they're at about 27, I think. So, and then fifth grade, yeah, we're under 30, and then sixth grade is sitting at 40.
Did you have many transfer requests for elementary school?
Somewhere, 2 for sure. Possibly, we're right about 5, but no, we're moving in time.
Have we had any major families leave? I know we really had some families with pre-K, I think it might be moving, maybe not.
Not that I'm aware of right now. I've heard some rumors, but nothing that I'm.
Nobody's like, no other schools have formally requested our kids' documents yet at this time.
No, and we have had a parent come approach me about doing early college options in Baker. That's the only, it's just a Baker Web Academy program that we've had other kids do in the past.
And when they go to Baker Web, do we lose that number to us?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Chris?
I don't have a question, but I just would like to tell you how the ending, whatever you call the drawing for the thing, your last morning thing. And you couple that with the comfort, and it's very, very positive. Yeah, I thought you guys did a great job ending the school with those two functions.
Thank you.
It was quite a sight to watch all those kids doing the hand motions with the songs. It was priceless.
Anything else for Chris? Okay, we are down to action items. We did not need to do an action item on the July meeting, but we do need to hire a couple of coaches and do some other things here. Can we clump the two, hire the head wrestling coach and hire the assistant cross-country coach together in a motion?
A motion, we hire the head wrestling coach that James presented and Kara Clark as the assistant cross-country coach.
All right, second.
Nick,
All right.
Macy,
Aye.
Mark, and I am a yes as well. Resolution number 2024-2025, parentheses 2, Fund 255, miscellaneous state grants. What is that?
So the state gave us $2,229.30 for special education stipends. There was a whole specific list of who would receive them based on working 75% with special education, on and on and on. And it's the resolution to accept that money. The way they required us to report it is requiring an increase in our appropriation of that.
Okay. Be it resolved that for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, the following appropriation shall be added and reported to the new fund of miscellaneous state grant fund 255 as required by accounting standards. The new fund was created to accommodate state funded grants that are not reported in the general fund. Specifically, the special education stipend grant was not awarded during the regular budget cycle, but is required by Oregon Department of Education to be spent from special revenue. Salary stipend only is eligible and payroll costs will be absorbed by the general fund. Fund 255 miscellaneous state grants, expenditures $1,250, special education instruction, $2,229.30, revenue, $32.99, other restricted grants in aid, $2,229.30. Be it further resolved that this resolution was approved at a regular board meeting of the Union School District Number 5 Board of Directors held on May 14th. And let's change that to June 11th and becomes part of the minutes of that meeting.
I move we adopt resolution number 24-25, parentheses 2.
Is there a second? Nick, are you in favor?
Yes.
Macy,
Yes.
Mark? Yeah. Jocelyn, yes. All right.
Question.
Yes,
Union County Sheriff's Office and Union County, is that our resource officer?
One of them is the resource officer. It's, what's the amount, 5,000 some odd? The other is for the care coordinator. It's a separate contract for service to provide all sorts of things, actually, for people who are unhoused, students who maybe don't have appropriate clothing, maybe they need a new washer. She's a fantastic resource. And that's a part of what we use in our integrated plan to meet some of the requirements for community engagement and resource.
Are those monthly?
No. So hers is one time per year because we share that position with so many of our schools. And community resources as well. She's not just in the schools. But the sheriff's department was $17,500 and some dollars this year. And next year will go up. We have that resource officer available roughly one day a week. Give or take, some weeks we use him twice a week.
And they've increased their staffing.
Correct.
It's still an arm and a leg.
It's awful.
Why did we have it on here twice? Oh, no, never mind. So just done. Yep.
I might have
Double
printed it twice,
it
or I
twice.
might have had to pay them twice.
No, just print it. Saw that number one.
resolution to increase appropriations 2025-26. Tell us about that.
That's the one we don't have to do. That was
Okay.
hopeful. I wanted more money.
Oh, well,
Maybe we'll get
always good to hope. Letter of resignation from Tony Houston, educational assistant. Dear Union School District, this is my letter of resignation. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the Union School District family. In the last 20 years, I have loved helping children learn and expand their minds. I have worked with 2 generations of children. I have encouraged and helped many children with first words, steps, etc. I designed and built adapted implements for 2 different students to be able to paint in art class. One attached to her head and the other to her hand. One is still painting and loves it after 8 years. With a heavy heart, I will be leaving at the end of the 24-25 school year, maybe 25-26 school year.
This year.
She's gone.
Okay. I will be able to sub and continue to help with school bus trips when available. It has been a pleasure to be a part of this outstanding school district, Tony Houston.
Coming here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Motion to accept her resignation.
I so moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Nick,
Aye.
Macy, Mark, and Jocelyn is a yes.
Just because we accepted this one and we can do the other one, we need to set up a exit interview for Carolyn.
Okay.
And then probably Tony too. We kind of discussed what that means, standard policy moving forward. Or standard, not policy, but procedure. It'll be on. Maybe you do something you need to.
Okay, perfect. Close the budget hearing. Are there any further discussion of the budget? If not, a resolution to adopt the budget for 25-26 will be read and appropriations stated. We can probably just read that resolution.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Union School District Number 5 hereby adopts the budget for the 2025-26 fiscal year in the sum of $9,888,489 now on file in the District Administrative Office. Be it resolved that the amount of the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and for the purposes shown below are hereby appropriated as follows. You want all those?
I mean, I don't, just the public who's listening on the internet. I think you can hit the highlights of the general fund.
Okay,
That's the main one.
general fund, total of $7,863,721. And a bunch of all these other little funds that I'm sure Mindy has correctly put together. Be it resolved that the following ad valorem property taxes are hereby imposed for the tax year 2024-2025 upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the Union School District. 1, at the permanent tax rate of 5.0640 per $1,000 of assessed value. 2, $247,232 for general obligation bond debt service. Okay. Okay, I already read that. That is the resolution.
I make a motion, we accept the resolution as read by Mark.
Adopt the budget, yes.
I'll second.
Nick?
Aye.
Macy?
Aye.
Aye.
Mark? Jocelyn? Aye. Policy items, we don't have any at this time. Mindy was kind enough to check to make sure that we didn't have anything coming from OSBA that we needed to work on. Information and discussion items, spectator code of conduct. James and Joe had something, but
Yeah, and I think they plan to present it with the handbook.
okay, so in July. So that will be moved to future agenda items. Superintendent evaluation format, review what each person highlighted as areas needed more information.
Move that we, July as well,
Absolutely.
2 hours.
Absolutely. So if you will move if
This year or next year?
I mean, valid points.
Do you need another copy of the evaluation workbook? There's some here. Mindy brought some. If you need,
the idea there is that we were all looking at that, marking what we would like further information on, and then suggestions for how we would get that information. I think a good example was the information we've received on scheduling and information then requested. I think it's a nice way for us to be informed and learn about what's going on in the schools, so that we have knowledge to answer those. So
Another idea of, Carter filling this out for himself and written explanation of how he's justified these standards and presenting it to us a month before the evaluation to review.
okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
And Mark has a piece, remind us of the piece that you'd like us to do as well
I shall.
At the next meeting.
at the next meeting. Okay, or I thought maybe you'd do it now, but no. Okay,
Well, we need to meet before we meet with him and go over what we checked in that form.
okay.
That way, then when we come to the meeting with him, we have a much better presentation.
I think that's a valid point
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that way we get to discuss all those
Right.
things on us. and say, good grief, are we letting them get by with this? We need to change things. So, and we've never done that. And I think it's a great hole in our evaluation process.
Perfect. And that's the kind of things we want to discuss and clean up that's going on. Okay, so that has been moved to July as well. Future agenda items, I have, Carter, if you will bring your superintendent goals.
Okay.
We will talk about board goals, or maybe we move board goals to August after we get our starting point information. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll move that to August. So board goals will be in August. Carter will present his superintendent goals in July. We will have our board formal complaint review that we've all watched.
I have a call.
Okay, we're just about done. And we'll work on setting up those exit interviews. Anything else for the future board meeting?
Yes, Madam Mayor. It's June and I forgot that we don't have valid contracts moving forward for administrators, so we're gonna have to do that in July.
Okay.
I guess I didn't want to pay that back.
It's true.
I came across on the OSBA website, a whole thing that talks about, superintendent evaluation.
Nice.
So that might be worth a skim. I kind of do number, but the whole thing, it literally talks about how to gather all that information and how to do a nice job. So,
Okay. Can you bring that?
yeah, I'll find it on there and then maybe shoot the resource or the link.
Yeah, and I
As long as they don't respond to you, or you can send it to me and I'll send it out.
there we go. Yeah.
And then we can make a paper copy.
Yeah, paper cut. Just a reminder, and you guys, well, those of you that got my email saw, emails can only be factual, and that's why I put do not reply on there. So just as a reminder, I'm not being rude, it's just policy that we have. Okay, any other comments, questions? Unfortunately, we're in a situation where public law, if we run virtually, we have to have a way for the public to respond. If we accept comments, then the public has to have a way to do that. And unfortunately, we don't have access to that right now. So again, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's a public meeting law thing that we have to allow both to happen. And unfortunately, we've got to figure out Wi-Fi down here. And that's kind of where we're stuck, but we will get it fixed. Okay. We're learning. There's lots of new stuff. So, sorry. Okay, anything else? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Bye-bye.
Sure. I'm just wondering, after, being involved with the track team, we were talking about, where would we go as far as like budgetary type requests? Do we talk to the track coach? My point is